Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddard. I'm really excited today to talk to you about some things that are going to help you to be not just a better business professional, but a better human being. I'm going to give some backstory on what's happening in my life today that's going to be um, uh, almost kind of sad and heavy, but I'm going to use it as a way to help wake us up to the things that are most important in life. I'm excited about my guest today, who is a giant of a man, not just in business, but also in life. And I'm excited to introduce you to him. Let me remind you that inside of the Scaling Your Referral business on Facebook is where you'll get the most of my help, helping you to do exactly that, to build a business that gives you life after business. So again, if you're not yet a member, go join us there. Back to today's guest. His name is Marcus Green. He's out of the Salt Lake City market. He's a broker owner for several Keller Williams franchises. Also owns a number of other businesses and is truly an entrepreneur in the real estate space, someone who is a leader's leader. Marcus, it's a pleasure to be with you on the show today. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I knew that when you and I had been connected by our friend in common, Patrick Woods, just a couple minutes in, I was like, I like this guy. I got to spend more time with this guy. So I admire much of who you are and what you do and what you've built. So before I go into maybe kind of a more kind of complete bio that will give people some background. In fact, why don't we do that now? Talk to us really quick just about the other businesses that you own, and then I'll kind of frame today's conversation around this topic that I referenced earlier.
Yeah. Just give you a quick background about myself. And this is always the worst part of any time I'm a guest on something is talking about myself, right? I've been in the real estate space for over 20 years. Particularly, I started here in Salt Lake City, Utah, actually in Park City, Utah at the time. And started just escalating my career from there. I have a real estate team and a property management company and a development company in Arizona as well. I expanded down there in 2009, 2010. When everyone else was running out of that market, I ran in to take advantage of the depressed market there. As you said, I own several Keller Williams franchises in the state of Utah with hundreds of agents that I get to coach and help on a regular basis that are incredible human beings. With that, we've launched a title company. We're in the process of launching mortgage, property, and casualty insurance. I also own a company called Exec Assist that a lot of your listeners may have seen. It's a nationwide company that offers virtual assistant help to real estate professionals. And my most recent project that I'm most excited about is the Whole Enchilada, my podcast on how to live a balanced life and really achieve excellence in multiple platforms, not just in business. So,
yeah, I love it, man. Boy, what a bio, what a resume you've built. And again, I know that that's not even the best part of it. I would imagine, I'm completely confident that if we were to talk to the people whose lives you touch, that would tell the full story. Right? It's one thing for us to list off the businesses that we've been a part of. It's another thing to go talk to someone's family and their children and the people whose lives you've really touched. I know you, as for me, that's kind of the bigger goal, right? Is deeper impact in people's lives. I want to go back to something that I'd referenced earlier. I even questioned whether or not I was going to keep this show on today. And let me just tell people again, if you know specifically what I'm talking about, my heart goes out to you. So some friends of ours this morning lost their oldest son in a car accident. And I apologize if I get a little emotional. It's not typically what you talk about on a podcast, but I kept this show up and going because it frames something that I'm deeply passionate about. I thought probably only with today's guest would I keep the show and not cancel it, because today's topic is about building a business and a life. And one thing that I see often in this industry, because the hours of real estate tend to extend beyond typical business hours, naturally, there tends to be this habit and this practice and this pattern of working 24/7. And the things in life that matter most oftentimes get second place, get the back seat. And I would just encourage, again, not going into details of those whose hearts are absolutely broken today, including some of my own household. Excuse me. That there are some things that matter a lot more than business. And what Mark and I want to talk about today is to help you to realize that and wake up to that if you haven't already, and maybe even give you some specific things that you can do to where you reprioritize stuff. Again, Marcus's podcast, The Whole Enchilada, is really designed around with that in mind, is that kissing the people and hugging the people that love you the most is way more important than earning some big trophy in your office. Now, can you do both? Yeah, you can. But we just want to be sure that we get first things first, because there will come a time when we all might be woken up to something that matters more. We want to be sure that life was in order and the proper priorities were in place so that we have no regrets. And the people that we love the most know that and knew that. So with that being said, Marcus, talk to us a little bit about, again, you having the great ability and position to influence people towards that direction, right? To consider the whole enchilada, not just consider business. What are some key things that you coach and teach agents on to keep them from having their business creep into every corner of their life?
Yeah, and I love that we're talking about this today. And I wish I could say, hey, the reason you're asking me this question is because I've done this perfectly every day of my career. And the truth is, it couldn't be more opposite than that, right? I was a young, hungry kid when I got into this business. And I'm not going to lie, I had dollar signs for eyeballs of like, I want to create a better life than I had growing up. I'm going to make this happen. And it took me several years in the business of getting that success, what I thought was success at the time, before all of a sudden I sat back for a second and said, how come I don't feel like I don't feel fulfilled? I've surpassed a lot of my monetary goals. I have more things than I ever thought was possible. How come I don't feel fulfilled? And it took me kind of some heartache and a big step back to say, I've prioritized the wrong things in my world. I've made business. I put business up on this platform of the number one, but at what expense? How many relationships did I not nurture and build along the way? And they were at the expense of me achieving what I thought was success at the time. And so this is why I'm so passionate about this topic now is I want to save somebody the heartache that I had being as a business owner, to help them realize early on that business is not about money. Business is about people. And sometimes the person we forget when we say business is about people, we are people. I am a person. And not only was I burning some relationships around me, I also wasn't taking care of my personal needs outside of business by becoming so focused on hitting my business goals. And so the thing that's really, really helped me step back and say, number one is, the purpose of my business is really to fund the perfect life I want to have. I only get one life to have, and I want to live it the way I want to live it. My businesses are structured in such a way that they should afford me the time and the money to live that way. And then the next level of building the business and why I keep going is now I've got this, I'm using quotations, empire, because it's so small compared to other people's, but it's this idea of, by creating these opportunities, am I able to train the people within my world early on that their families' lives come first, and our business, what we're building together, the purpose of it is to help them live the ideal life they want to live and be able to fund that life, if that makes sense.
And let me just, if you're not working for somebody that either has that already or could have that in them, I think you should begin to design your departure from that organization. Life is too short to work for people who don't encourage and inspire you to prioritize that. Secondly, if you are a leader and you haven't yet adopted that, my feel is that you're not going to be able to really retain great people, not just great producers, but great people, if you don't embody that, if you don't fully embrace that. So if you want to be surrounded with people that are just like what Marcus described, then be that person. That was actually advice that I got a long time ago when I was had not yet found my spouse. Is it become the person that you want to be, and there she'll be. You'll find her quickly, and that's exactly what happened. And so I love that concept that in business, if you really want to have a certain life, start to surround yourself with people like that. Whether you're the leader or whether you're in an organization, really start to expect that of people. I love that, Marcus. That's a great principle that we all should be looking at.
Yeah. And the only thing I would add to that is I think our industry particularly has gotten really good at talking the talk over the last several years of everyone think bigger, everyone want more, you can have this perfect life. And so I think a lot of people are attracting people to an empty vision. So I think, yes, if you're not already within someone's organization or building an organization with that mentality, or if you think you are, success leaves clues, right? So I would say, is there a track record within this organization that I can become the person I want to be? And if you don't see an opportunity for you to become the ideal version of yourself within the current path you're on, it's time to change paths.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, boy. Let's go back and actually kind of examine that a little bit, because you talked about this concept of thinking bigger in empires. And for those that follow the show, you recognize that for me, think bigger real estate is really about thinking bigger than real estate and keeping real estate in its proper perspective, which is a means to fund your perfect life, is exactly what you said, Marcus. And I hope that people, when they hear that from me, that's what they get, number one. And also that there's this concept of what is an empire, right? Because I think sometimes people maybe are turned off by that concept, but think about an empire in which there are no people that you actually have relationships with. Like, what kind of empire is that? Like, it's a hollow one that's destined to fail, destined to not be a place, an empire you actually want to live in. Like, think about like the great like Roman empires or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They had their heyday and then they fell at some point. Part of that may very well have been because they took the focus off the people and really taking care of the people and growing the people. And I think the kind of empires that Marcus and I are talking about, the kind of empires that we're in the process of building, are where people come first, right? And healthy people in all areas of life. So again, if that's not who you're following, we encourage you to follow us, because that's who we are at the core. That's the kind of people that we're looking to attract into our organizations. So
yeah, that's right on.
Talk to us, Marcus, a little bit about this. You've obviously built and helped people to build businesses. I'm really passionate about helping people, because my focus is on people, to build a referral-based business, but specifically one that scales, right? And there's a lot of methodologies on how to grow a referral-based business, right? My book, The Upstream Model, teaches how to leverage key referral partners that can refer you a lot of business. I'd love to hear from your experience. What additional light can you shed on? And again, not to downplay any other model out there, right? To each their own. If it's working for you and giving you the life that you want, by all means, right? Do that. I'd love to hear from you. What things have you seen when people really kind of pour into a relationship-based business, regardless of the specific model, but when they really put relationships first and they really seek out referrals, not just leads? What insight can you give us around how that maybe benefits somebody's life, not just their business?
Yeah, no, I love this approach. By the way, you and I talked a little bit about this before when we first connected, and that's why I think we resonated a lot. Is the truth of the matter is in the real estate industry across, or a lot of entrepreneurs in general. I get to coach a lot of entrepreneurs. I see this over and over again, is that we all call ourselves business owners. And the truth of the matter is 90% of people that call themselves business owners, they in essence are the business, which means the business owns them, right? So I like the way you're helping people understand that if you structure your business in such a way that the brand brings value, not the person brings energy. If the brand brings value and solves a problem for somebody, the brand itself is the business. People are attracted to value. And I think a lot of people are complaining about the shift in our industry and changes of what's happening in the marketplace right now. But one of the most beautiful things that's going on for people that are focused on relationship style businesses is it's created some uncertainty for people, where over the last decade, people have lived in certainty of, I know what's going on in the market. I know what the economy's doing. I'm really bullish in what I'm doing. And now people are sitting in a place of uncertainty, where when people are sitting in a place of uncertainty, it gives us the opportunity to bring value in and create certainty where certainty does not exist for someone. And if you think back on some of the most solid relationships you have in life, at some point either you close the gap for someone or they close the gap for you, going from uncertainty to certainty, which bound you together. And that really is the game we play in business right now. Is what is the question or concern that my ideal consumer has today? What do they wake up worrying about today? And do I have the ability to close a gap for them and eliminate that worry and solve a problem for them? And if I can do that in a genuine way and create certainty, we'll be bound together for not just one transaction, but multiple transactions. And there'll probably be a day down the road where I'll be the one that needs value from them, right? And it builds that deeper relationship.
Powerful stuff, man. I believe that the principles that you're talking here may be going over some people's heads, but they're so profound. So again, if you wanted to go back and really find what does it take to really thrive in today's competitive, even commoditized world, the gold nuggets that Marcus just shared right there, right, of really identifying what is the concern that people have and becoming the link to help them overcome that. There's great wisdom there. So I appreciate you sharing that. And it really is almost a great segue into kind of the next topic that I wanted to discuss, Marcus, which is this concept of leadership, right? Now, your leadership position, it looks different than many who will be listening to this, right? You lead many offices, organizations, companies. For some, that they might be saying, look, I just go show homes, right? I don't know that I'm necessarily a leader. I believe one of my great mentor, Steve Yeager, taught me that the highest form of sales is leadership, right? That and leadership doesn't mean, it's not a title, it's not a position, right? It's a way of living and helping other people go, similar to what you were just saying, is from where they are, what the pain point is, to getting that resolved and being the link for them to that. Are there any other leadership principles that have really stood out to you as you are building this empire that we've described? Right. And that you would really encourage people to either revisit and or really embrace in their life to begin to really accelerate their own career and even their own internal identity of how they see themselves.
Yeah, no, I love this conversation because, constantly we see people saying, I want to be a leader or I want to hire someone within my organization. But in my opinion, the where leadership starts is self-leadership. So anyone that says I'm not a leader, it's look in a mirror because someone is leading that body that you're looking at in the mirror. So self-leadership, the question I constantly ask myself, and no matter how big your organization gets, this is literally still what keeps me up at night is, am I being the leader my people need me to be? And that starts with you. Am I being the leader that I personally need in my world? And if you think about what a great leader is, and I love John Maxwell is the pinnacle of talking about leadership, right? He says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So particularly right now, entrepreneurs all over the world are sitting down, writing their goals for 2022. And the truth of the matter is, right before they write their goals for 2022, guess what they do? They pull out their goals from 2021 and dust them off because they haven't looked at them since last year when they put those goals together. So I think that's a great reflection of your self-leadership. Of last year, you committed to a goal, both on a business level and a personal level. And if you're just pulling out your goals from 2021 now to say, where did I end up? There's some self-leadership that needs to happen within your world of, are you influencing yourself to do the things that you said you were going to do? Are you holding yourself accountable? Do you have clarity on why it is you're doing what you're going to do and who counts on you to do those? If we can't lead on that level, the opportunity for us to actually lead, we can hire someone. Any one of us can go out if we're offering enough money and hire someone tomorrow. Hiring someone and leading someone are two different things. If we think we have the ability to lead somebody else, meaning influence them towards a higher version of themselves, the answer is we cannot do that if we're not influencing ourselves to a higher version of ourselves.
Boy, there's always work to be done there, isn't there? And the more that we really get good at leading ourselves, I think talent becomes attracted to that. They see the life that we're living, both in business as well as outside of business. And there's just a certain magnetism of like, I want to be in your world because I want to live like you live. I want to impact like you impact. I want to serve how you serve. And becoming talent, it gets a lot easier. You don't necessarily have to go prospecting for it in a sense that great people show up in your world. It's been interesting for me as I've taken some next steps in really getting my model, the upstream model, out to the world. How many, just by simply being a more visible in kind of the way that I want to lead agents, it's amazing how many, not people to necessarily work for me, but people that have ideas on how to take that to another level and want to partner in different ways. And it's been amazing to me because I haven't necessarily gone out seeking those people, but there's this perception of how I'm leading myself and the people that I am leading, that they're just right. Momentum begets more momentum, and the right people become attracted to that. And there've been plenty of times in my life where I've absolutely not done that. Right? So this isn't a compliment to myself, but it's just kind of reinforcing this principle that you just described is that if there's any lack in your leadership or finding talent, go back and look at how am I leading myself? Am I getting up when I say I'm going to get up? Am I making my bed when I know I should make my bed? It's so simple, right?
So simple, but that's where it starts.
Yeah, that self-trust and that self-leadership is fantastic. I love that.
Can I make one quick comment on what you just said?
Please.
I think because it's obvious from me watching you, it's obvious why you're attracting talent, why you're attracting opportunity, right? And so a lot of times when I'm coaching entrepreneurs and talking to them and they're saying, well, I want this and I want that. And in essence, they want to attract those opportunities. And my question to them is, well, you want to attract these things. The question is, are you attractive to those things? Because if we want to attract more money, we want to attract talent into our world. For that to be attracted to us, we have to be attractive to them. And I'm not saying go get plastic surgery and look more like Brad Pitt to anyone, right? That's not what I'm saying. Is a very talented person is going to look for an organization in which the leadership and opportunity is there. If it's not there, they won't be attracted to the organization. In my, I love chasing a good deal. I'm not going to attract a good deal, a good real estate investment or opportunity if I'm not structuring my life in such a way that I can execute on that deal, right? And so a lot of times when we want to attract more, it's not looking for more opportunities. It's asking the question of, am I doing the self-work to be attractive to what I want?
Boy, there's so much wisdom in that. And it really, again, aligns with the principles that I love to teach and love to try and live, right? I'll take it back to a bold law, which of course you're very familiar with, right? Which is want is lack. When somebody comes saying, I want these things, and there's a difference when someone is actively working, not just wanting, but working to create that change in their own life. And I think it kind of speaking it again, because of this is my world right now, is helping people to understand and apply the upstream model, is that as you become uber valuable to people who have the ability to send you not just 1 or 2 referrals a year, but potentially 1 or 2 referrals a week, right? It just changes everything. And it's not a matter of prospecting and going out and finding and kind of hustling these people. It's about creating a value proposition and obviously presenting that to them, but becoming so valuable in their world that they're attracted to get their clients in front of you, right? That there's this shared brand. Like I've said this before, that it's always cool when people when they hold up an iPhone, right? And maybe we don't subconsciously do this, but I'm never embarrassed when I open up my Apple laptop that, oh, that's like a janky computer. Whereas if it were some other brand, I might be, right? And same thing when I put on, like, let's say maybe a pair of like Nikes and put on like these big brands that we all associate as successful people use these brands, right? And when I feel very comfortable that my brand is going to be better by associating with the Apple brand, for example, right? Then I want to be near that. And I think very similar is that all of us are a brand, whether we have a logo like over my shoulder or not. All of us are a brand, and people are either wanting to be associated with our brand because they perceive it's going to not just make them look better, but actually make them be better. Or it's like, I don't know that I want to be associated with that brand, that person, whether we call it that or not, because it's not in alignment with my brand, and it's not alignment with who I want to be known as and seen and ultimately become, right? So there's this interesting dynamic with kind of the way that we associate with people and things. That, again, goes back to, are we attracting the right talent? Are we becoming the right people that are attractive? I love how you pointed that out. Last topic, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the whole enchilada, right? I love when I can direct people that are like me, right? That kind of think how I think. If I can give them more resources to become whole people, not just business producers. Tell us a little bit about your podcast, Whole Enchilada, and I'm going to encourage my audience to go find it because it will just reinforce kind of who I am and who I want to help people become.
Yeah. No, I thank you for asking that question. This is a journey. I call it a journey I'm on right now with the Whole Enchilada. It's not a podcast of me saying, hey, over the last several years, I've done this perfectly, so let me show you what it is. But it's me talking through like, hey, let's go on this journey together. And one of my big beefs in the world right now is this idea of people talking about living a balanced life, but the way they describe it is almost like it's a teeter-totter, where it's saying, well, a balanced life is almost described as mediocrity across all things, right? So like, don't get overly committed to this, because you want to balance it out, right? And so for me, I'm like, well, that just doesn't resonate with me, because, and I think it's going to be true for a lot of the people in your world and in my world, is, hey, we want to achieve. We're hustlers. We want to make things happen. So in my mind, balance is not mediocrity across all things. It can be, balance can be that, but it also can be achieving at a high level across multiple platforms. And the platforms I'm talking about are yes, business, self-leadership, building wealth, family relationships, spirituality, physical fitness. And if you think about it, if I pulled up every one of our social media threads, we'd have people that we follow that we put on a pedestal for being the pinnacle within their field. But I truly believe a lot of those people, if you dig around them, you're going to find that, yeah, maybe they're incredible business owners, but they're an alcoholic and they're physically unable to walk up 10 flights of stairs. Or we put an athlete on a pedestal and they're able to go marathon after marathon after marathon, but they're begging for money on the weekends because they can't even provide for their family or whatever it is. And so my vision and goal with the whole enchilada is this idea to say, hey, whatever you want to achieve across multiple platforms is possible. And don't get overly siloed in succeeding in one area that everything else falls apart. The same life principles it takes to be an incredible business owner reflect over and are habits that fall into your personal world that could also make you a great husband and father, or a great athlete, or a great whatever else is important to you. Not that I define that for them, but that's the journey we're on with the whole enchilada. And it's just been an incredibly fun conversation.
Well, I found that to be true. I love that I hadn't heard that full description of your podcast. But I agree with that. Like, at times when I'm succeeding in one area, as long as I have the big picture, bigger picture, right? Of like, I want to be great in all things. When I start getting really focused on my physical life, it actually doesn't hurt my business, right? Actually, I become a better businessman. I become a better leader. When I'm a better leader for the people that I serve, I'm oftentimes a better dad at the same time, right? It's like this tide like raises all ships, right? And it's like, as you commit to the becoming better human being, like it leaks into all areas of life. You can't, like you said, just silo it. So what a powerful way to think. And again, to this audience, I think that's going to come very well received. That's who we want to be, right? Is, again, back to the whole purpose of this episode today, which is that you can have a business and a life. You don't have to choose. In fact, I would encourage you to not choose, because there will come a day when, if you choose only one of those, right, there will be regret, there will be lack, and there will be want and shortages. Whereas when you commit to, again, following great leaders like Marcus and learning from them and looking at the models that they follow, you'll find that you can have it all, right? You can have a great family, great spirituality, great health, great fun life, and a great business all at the same time. So fun to spend some time with you, my friend. I appreciate it. I want to ask you one more question as we wrap up here, which is this: you are undoubtedly a big thinker. That's just who you are. That's what you emanate. What does Marcus Green do to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities? What does it look like for you?
Yeah, no, great question. And this is, I'm just like everybody else. We think big in the quiet moment of our own office. Here I am in my home office. This is my sanctuary. It's easy to think big in here. But then once we go out into the world and everyone else is almost feels like they're working against our big dreams, our big models, because it's safer, that self-doubt inside of you starts to say, well, why do you really need to do that? Why do you think that way? Why this person you respect is putting fear in you? Maybe you should think smaller. So one of the biggest things for me is really purposeful, scheduled time for thinking time, where this is in the quiet of my moment, that I'm not going to let the outside influences tell me what I should be thinking, but I'm going to let my brain go wild and think big and outside the box. And sometimes I work on a business plan or something crazy for an hour, only to the end of it be like, I'm absolutely nuts. that is crazy. I'm not going to do that. But there's other times I'm doing that where I'm like, okay, I'm onto something here. I see how this is going to feed the people in my world at a higher level. And it's that purposeful time. The other thing that really, anytime I'm feeling small or I don't have it in me to do it, if I won't show you, but here in my home office, 4 foot by 8 foot, I have my personal mission vision statement up on the wall. I stand in front of it every single morning. I read it out loud to myself. And that is what allows me to think bigger, because that vision statement is all about building an empire for other people, not just me. And so I have an obligation beyond myself to think big and to think differently and provide opportunities, because I have found that that is my passion. That is who I am at my core. And for me not to think big and not to act big and not to try to be a better leader is going against my internal virtuous self, if that makes sense.
Yeah, your own DNA. I've seen it. You showed it to me before, the beautiful image of the bridge, and it's powerful. And I would kind of in terms that I would use, you're on not just the path to success, which I believe is well marked. You're on the path to significance, right? Which is not well marked. Again, for anybody listening to this, if you want to not just have success, in fact, when you get to my website, justinstoddard.com, you realize the key thing is for those that want more than success. There's plenty of paths and leaders that will get you to success. Like, they're everywhere. But people that will take you to significance, I believe those are fewer and farther between, and fewer people that can not just talk you through how to do there, but can lead you, because they're on that same journey, on that same path. And Marcus, thanks for being one of those people for me and for so many others. And it's been a total pleasure to have you on the show today. Appreciate it, my friend, very much. And for those listening here today, I want to give you these final 3 words. You know what they are. They are go, think bigger. Marcus, thanks for helping us do that today, my friend.
Thanks for having me, everybody.